All right, guys, so the Green Bay Packers just made a couple of more roster moves, adding 2 players to the practice squad that now stands at 15 players. 2 more today, which we'll go over. And like I said, now the Packers have 2 more spots for practice squad players that'll likely be signed in the coming days. Quickly, before we dive into it, I'm going to give a massive shout out to today's video sponsor, BetUS, who's offering a great promotion right now, a 125% deposit bonus on your first 3 deposits, and that's up to $2,000. You can go down and click the link in the description. It'll also be pinned in the comments. With the Green Bay Packers Week 1 game just over a week away from today, 8 days to be exact, you still have time to make your Week 1 bets, which right here up on the screen, we have the Green Bay Packers to make the playoffs. That's at 1.63-1 odds for the Green Bay Packers to make the playoffs. They actually aren't favored in the NFC North. That is still the Detroit Lions. But in my opinion, I don't think there's any way the Packers don't make the playoffs outside of maybe a massive injury to Jordan Love. So I'm going to go ahead and place a $100 bet on this to win an additional $62.50. There's a ton of different lines you can bet on over here on BetUS. You can even bet on the Green Bay Packers winning the Super Bowl or the MVP, offensive, defensive player of the year. And then when the games get closer, there'll be individual player props for each game, which we'll go over that on this channel as well when that time comes. But again, if you want to get in on BetUS, remember to always gamble responsibly. But if you do, there is a bonus down below in the description, 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000. All right, so now into the roster moves via the transaction wire just a little bit ago. The Green Bay Packers claimed kicker Brayden Narveson off waivers from the Tennessee Titans and signed safety Omar Brown and linebacker Chris Russell to the practice squad. General manager Brian Gutekunst announced the transactions on Thursday. So we already knew the whole Brayden Narveson signing, which as the hours go by, as the days go by, I just get more and more excited about Brayden Narveson being the kicker of the Green Bay Packers. And it was also announced that Narveson will have the number 44 as a kicker for the Packers, which I think is awesome. Let me know what you think down in the comments. I feel like he's just set up for succession here in Green Bay, and he was a great kicker in the preseason. We talked about him in my previous video, so I won't go down into it too much, but very excited for Narveson, more than I was with Anders Carlson or Greg Joseph. But the 2 names here that are new, or at least one is definitely new, the other one we knew of. Chris Russell added to the practice squad. He was someone that I actually predicted to make it to our practice squad. He was the 2nd highest graded PFF defender this entire preseason in the entire NFL. So very impressive preseason for Russell, even though he was signed kind of through the midway point. Former teammate to Edgerrin Cooper there in Texas A&M, a linebacker. Nice to have him on the practice squad after losing out on Christian Welch to the practice squad. But the big one here is Omar Brown. And if you guys go back and watch some of my mock drafts, Omar Brown was a player out of Nebraska, a safety that I targeted a lot in my mock drafts in the 7th round. And I really like the thought of the Green Bay Packers drafting this guy. So I'm hyped to see him added to the practice squad. This also says another thing. The Packers fully expected to get Anthony Johnson Jr. back to add him to the practice squad. Now that that didn't happen, they signed Omar Brown to the practice squad, who was with the Denver Broncos this entire preseason after going undrafted in the 2024 draft out of Nebraska. And when you bring up his PFF grades here, you could see he had a 66.5 grade overall, the 3 games, only 52 total snaps, so not a ton of snaps. He made 5 tackles and didn't miss a single tackle, and he actually only allowed 1 target on 1 reception for 4 yards. Then when you flip over to his college PFF grades, he was a very highly graded safety at Nebraska in 2023 with an 82.8, including a 74.3 run defense, 60.6 tackle, and a nice coverage grade of 84.5, including 3 total pressures, 49 tackles, and 11 miss. We see his grades over the seasons. 2022, still above average at Nebraska, and then he had 3 years at Northern Iowa from 2019 to 2021, where he graded very, very well. A 75.9 his freshman year. The next year after that, 88.8, and then 83.7 the year after that. So what's interesting about Omar Brown is he's a converted cornerback. So at Northern Iowa, he basically played some cornerback and some box safety. We see mainly cornerback the first 3 years, but also some box safety. Then in Nebraska in 2022, didn't play too much, but then in 2023, where he also had a very good grade, he played a lot of slot cornerback, not much free safety, but also some box with 147 snaps. So this guy, has a ton of versatility, and that's kind of why I liked him during the pre-draft process. And he was also one of the top 30 visits by the Green Bay Packers. So this just makes a lot of sense, getting another defensive back in the building that used to play outside cornerback, played nickel most recently, can put him at deep safety, you can put him in the box, you can quite literally put him at any defensive back spot. So although just a practice squad signing, I really like this one in case the Packers have an injury or something at safety and they need to call up another safety. I thought it would be Anthony Johnson Jr. after I saw him cut on the 53-man roster cutdown day, but Omar Brown, that makes it sting a little bit less because I really liked him coming out of the draft process. So now the Packers practice squad, like I said, is at 15 out of 17 players because Alex Hale's taking up the international spot so they can have one extra, and it is as follows: Deslin Alexander, Omar Brown, Sean Clifford, James Esther, Alex Hale, Julian Hicks, Donovan Jennings, Kalen King, Nate McCrary, Ellis Merriweather, Robert Rochelle, Chris Russell, Lecitus Smith, Messiah Swinson, and Jalen Wayne. I believe Jalen Wayne was a late addition last night, so he wasn't included in my original practice squad video. So he is also back on the team. We saw him during this entire training camp, and I learned yesterday he's actually the nephew of Reggie Wayne, former great wide receiver, Indianapolis Colts. So that's really cool to see him back on the practice squad after, losing out of Samori Toure, heading to, I believe, the Chicago Bears. They have a couple receivers on this practice squad now with Julian Hicks and Jalen Wayne. Some more Packers news from today. All the coordinators met with media for press conferences. So Jeff Hafley was asked a couple of questions, and he confirmed that he will be calling plays from up in the box in Brazil next Friday against the Eagles. Likes the calm and ability to lay stuff out and plan ahead. He called plays from up top in the preseason, which I'm all for. You get a better vision of everything. Again, it's not the craziness of the sideline going on, and to be honest, I like a defensive coordinator being up in the box. Jeff Hafley on his mindset entering first game as NFL defensive play caller, quote, "We're going to work really hard. I'm going to have the call sheet in front of me, and we're going to let it rip. I trust the players. I trust the staff. They just got to go and play and execute, and I'm excited about that." And I'm also so excited for this defense because I just saw a stat of what Jeff Hafley, or what the type of defenses he ran during the preseason, because we all knew it was very vanilla, and he wasn't going to bring out any exotic looks, and this just proves that. He ran cover 3 53% of the time, cover 1 31% of the time, Tampa 2, 16% of the time, and a blitz rate of 12.8%, or 31st in the entire NFL through the preseason, which clearly isn't what we're going to see from Jeff Hafley this year. So if you're worried about watching the preseason games and players like Bo Nix nickel and diming down the field and kind of thinking, what is the difference between this old Joe Barry defense and the new Jeff Hafley defense? Trust me, he was not running anything he plans to run week 1 or into the season. I think we're going to start to see some exotic looks week 1, pressuring Jalen Hurts and getting after the quarterback. I'm very excited to see what Jeff Hafley has set up for week 1. So that's all the news we have for today. The Packers signing 2 more practice squad players. They have 2 more to go. When that news comes out, be on the lookout for it on my channel, plus some other tidbits from Jeff Hafley ahead of week 1. Go down, click the subscribe button, turn on post notifications to not miss any of the content throughout this NFL season. Super excited. 8 days away. Week 1 in Brazil, Friday night versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Super excited for that game. I think the Packers will come out strong and win that game. But I appreciate you guys coming by to the channel. I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching, and as always, go Pack Go.